Their defense is going to have to be good because uh, the Clemson team that they're going up against is loaded. Today we're going to talk about how LSU matches up against Clemson and what they'll need to do to win that matchup with LSU's defense going up against Clemson's offense. And Clemson, of course, you're going to start with a quarterback. I've already mentioned it. He's first team AP All American, Cade Klubnik. Klubnik is going into his third year as a starter, as a full time starter. He played as a freshman, went back and forth with DJ, and I won't even bother saying the last name, but yeah, he went back and forth with him, and he got some valuable experience as a freshman. He took over the reins as a sophomore, and then he really took off as a junior. And he showed a full grasp of the offense, but also that he can make all the throws. You really could. You were able to better see what he was capable of as a junior when he was much more comfortable in the offense. And just to give an idea of how much he's improved um, his play and his understanding of the game. His sophomore year, his first year as a starter, he threw 19 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and that's respectable. First year starter, you can't expect too much more from that, too much more than that. And also, you were questionable at the skill position, so it's not like he had a lot of great weapons around him. So 19-9, it's not bad. His junior year, he gets two big time recruits at the wide receiver position, and he gets a steady running game, a physical running game they could lean on. So you went from 19-9 to 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So that's a huge jump. That's a huge jump in production for Cade Klubnik. Klubnik is a guy. He's not super big. He's around 6'1", but he can make every throw. He's got plenty enough arm strength. He's not gonna wow you with measurables, but he can make all the throws. He's accurate, and he's also he's a good runner. He's not Vic, but he's probably along the lines of a Trevor Lawrence, probably maybe even a little bit more mobile than Trevor Lawrence. But he's a good runner. He's a tough runner. But speaking of his toughness, one of the most impressive things I see from Klubnik is his ability to, or his willingness to take the hit and make the throw. So when it comes to Klubnik, it won't be enough to just get pressure on him. You got to get to him. You'll have to sack him. He'll take the pressure. He'll take the lick. He'll make the throw. He's shown it time and time again. And he threw around 63% clip as far as completion rate, which is good. It's not great, but it's not awful. And you're also dealing with some new receivers. Like I said, he had two freshmen, but he's got one standout in Antonio Williams, who some people kind of look at as a first round pick. I don't know if I'd have him that high, but he's a great weapon out of the slot. But they use him in a lot of ways too. Williams is kind of like Clemson's answer to Aaron Anderson for LSU. You got a guy, he's not super big, probably in that 5'10" range, but he's dynamic. They use him on end arounds. They put him in jet sweep motion, but he's a complete receiver. He can run every route there is to run. He can get deep. They'll mostly use him out of the slot, but he's very dangerous after the catch. He's good in the return game. He's just a dynamic guy. He's a dynamic player, and he's a great complement to the bigger guys that they have outside. So you got Williams from the slot, but you also have rising sophomore and TJ Moore outside of the X receiver position. And Moore gives them that big body, that possession receiver. But you don't want to limit them to a possession receiver because he can get downfield. He's a guy that averaged around, I think, close to 15 yards per catch. So Moore is a big body, but he's a fast guy. He doesn't really get credit for being fast because the other rising sophomore and Brian Wesco, was a bigger downfield threat last year. So you get Wesco back too. So you got three guys on that Clemson team that could honestly be all conference types in the ACC. I mean, not just the ACC, but that's where they're playing now. So that's what I'll talk about. You got three high level guys, three future NFL guys, and it's going to be a big challenge. But LSU will be better equipped to face that challenge than they have been in years. I keep going on and on about the depth, but this is going to be the best secondary that LSU has had probably since 2019. And it's definitely going to be the best defense overall that they've had in quite some time. Talking about Clemson, it's hard to really point out a lot of weaknesses, and it'll be the same way when I talk about their defense. If you can come up with a weakness on this offense, it might be at running back. They lost their running backs, their starting running back from 24. He got drafted. He's with the Cowboys now. They had an injury. They had a transfer. And their starting running back right now is probably going to be a former wide receiver, but not along the lines of what you're probably thinking when you say wide receiver. This guy, Adam Randall, is a converted wide receiver for Clemson. He's 6'2" and 240 pounds. So I don't really hear about a lot of 240-pound wide receivers other than Megatron or something like that. But yeah, Randall he's an explosive 242. He's fast. He's got some experience in the return game, and yeah, he's not just a big body. Like, he can scoot. Now, can he press the line? His acceleration out of the backfield, I would think it'll be sufficient, but I haven't seen him play a lot of running back. So time will tell. Now, the good thing for Clemson is they don't have to depend on their running game when you got a quarterback like that, when you got receivers like that. But at the same time, no matter how good your quarterback is, you don't want to turn into a one-dimensional team. So that's what LSU is going to have to do when it comes to stopping Clemson. They'll have to try to make them one-dimensional. But more on that later. We'll talk about the matchup later. I want to go through the rest of Clemson's offense just to give you an idea of what LSU is facing from a talent standpoint. So you got NFL quarterback, NFL wide receivers. Got a question mark at running back. The offensive line. On the Clemson offensive line, it's going to be similar to what you saw from LSU's offensive line last year. And not so much in terms of talent, but in terms of experience. You got 4 out of 5 starters coming back on that offensive line. They're a highly regarded group. PFF has them as a top 10 offensive line in the country. Greg McElroy has them as a top 10 offensive line in the country. So, that can mean a few different things. I don't look at PFF as the Bible of college football, but it does tell you that you have competent guys and they're all coming back. So you also got chemistry and you got experience playing together, which is invaluable on the offensive line. That means, you might beat them, but you have to physically beat them. You can't rely on tricking them with stunts and stuff like that. It's just going to have to be one-on-one wins. It's not to say that you don't try any of that, but for the most part, you're just going to have to physically beat the guy in front of you when it comes to this Clemson O-line. Also, their offensive line coach is Matt Luke. So if you're an LSU fan, you might remember Matt Luke from being a head coach at Ole Miss. Before becoming head coach at Ole Miss, he was the OC at Ole Miss. But anyway, this is a decorated guy. He's a proven guy as an offensive line coach. And at the very least, you can expect this offensive line to be technically sound. Like I said, you can't expect them to beat themselves. You got to beat them. LSU might be equipped to do that this year. Early returns on that D-line is looking good, but it doesn't mean anything until toe meets leather on 8:30. So what you're seeing in camp is encouraging, But the LSU Tigers, they have to prove it on the field. And that's going to be a very critical matchup for LSU. If you want to stop that offense, it's going to start with disrupting that O-line and getting to Cade Klubnik. So speaking, if you want to get to Cade Klubnik, you have to get him in obvious passing downs, obvious passing situations. So as always, it starts with stopping the run. You got to stop the run. As I said, Clemson has a bit of a question mark at the running back position. Doesn't mean that they'll be bad though. So it doesn't mean that LSU can just show up and expect to stop that running game. You got to put the effort in. And if you don't stop the running game, I got a very, very slim chance of LSU going to Clemson and winning, because if they can run and they can do whatever they want. We know what Klubnik can do. So you got to make them one-dimensional. And I say that you want to hold them under the 125 mark, considering that you got a new running back. You don't really, your chances are great if you let him go off on you, but you also got to consider Cade Klubnik's mobility. So between both of them, between your running back room and Klubnik, you want to hold them to under 125. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of yardage for a whole team. It's not that hard to keep one back under 125, but it's a big number. And when Clemson struggled last year, they were held below that for the most part. You even had a loss where they like Texas, where they ran for more than that. But in most of their worst games, they ran for less than 125. And by the way, that wasn't Texas. That was somebody else. But if you look at 3 losses last year, Pitt held them to 58 yards. SMU held them to 64 yards. And Texas held them to 76 yards. So that's about where you need to be. Now, I'm not asking LSU to hold them under 80 yards. I think that's asking a bit much. It's not impossible, but that's asking a lot out of your defense. But if you hold them under 125, that's my magic number as far as keeping this offense in check and keeping Klubnik from getting too comfortable in the pocket. You definitely want to make it hard on him. Like I said earlier, this is a guy that he deals with pressure. He'll be in his 3rd year starting. So he's seen a lot of different pressure packages. He's seen a lot of different coverages. And it won't be easy to fool him. He's experienced. He's physically talented. So you got to sack him. It's not just getting to him. It's not just rushing throws. You got to sack him, because they got a good OC at Clemson, and they can adjust too. They'll do a lot of quick routes. They'll speed the tempo up when they need to. So you got to get him out of that comfort zone. Now, when he does have time to throw, I think one of the biggest matchups for LSU is going to be Antonio Williams. He's not only their most experienced pass catcher, but he's also, I think, the toughest matchup for LSU. LSU has a lot of long corners. You got guys over 6 feet. You got physical guys like Stamps who developed in the weight room over the past few years. You got Delane, who's got a lot of experience. Matter of fact, Clemson pretty much avoided Mansour Delane for the most part when they played him last year against Virginia Tech, when he was at Virginia Tech. And when they did throw at him, he made plays. So you're not expecting him to go at him a lot. But Antonio Williams is a guy that you can move around. He'll be in the slot. You can put him in motion. So first you got to know where he's lining up to stop him. But even once you know where he's lining up, you got to match up with him. He's a problem. He's a super quick guy. So I would expect LSU to play a lot of nickel in this game. Now, being that I'm expecting nickel, it doesn't mean that Perkins won't be in the game that much because, Perkins is a star. You don't have a star in the game when you're playing nickel, but Perkins is a guy that you can move around. You can also put him at linebacker or rush in. So I'm expecting LSU to try to get the best coverage guys on the field. So I'm expecting a lot of nickel in that game. And one of your starting safeties in Tamarcus Cooley has extensive experience at the nickel position. He's a good cover guy. But you have options, especially if you stop the run. You don't have to so much worry about having a nickel that can help you a lot in the run defense. Now, ideally, that's what you want, but you can put a priority on your pass defense in this case. So you can also, other than Cooley, you can have Woodland in the game. Delane also is a guy that's played nickel, so you could shift Delane over to the slot and bring Jackson in, or Stamps in and Pickett in, or Stamps and Woodland on the outside. You got some options, but I think I would lean towards Woodland or Delane in that nickel spot to kind of stick with Williams. Also got a magic number for Williams. I think you want to hold him to under 60 yards. Now, I've talked about how dynamic he is. So you could look at a guy like Williams. He could easily take a catch and break one and get 60 yards in one possession or one play. If he does break a big one, you just want to limit that. It's not so much about the yardage. You don't want him to impact the game and flip the field consistently over the course of the game. And it's not to say that there are other receivers undangerous too. I just think that LSU matches up better with those other receivers with the length that they have. If LSU doesn't have anything else, they have long cornerbacks, they have fast cornerbacks. So you got some tall, lengthy guys who can get down the field, some physical guys who could match up with your 200-plus pound receivers like a TJ Moore. So your biggest deal is going to be stopping Williams, getting the Klubnik.